Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. 15 years of my blood, sweat, and dedication, gone in an instant. My resignation sent shockwaves through the company, throwing it into financial turmoil, all because my father chose my younger brother over me. Hello everyone. Before we dive into this, I need your help. We've noticed a dip in the channel's traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and helps us keep delivering great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thank you. Now let's get into it. Hey Reddit. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. I need to get this off my chest before I completely lose my sanity. If you want the TLDR, it's at the bottom, but here's my full story. I'm a 34-year-old man, and I dedicated my life to my father's plumbing company, Taylor & Sons Plumbing, for the last 15 years. The Sons part? That was supposed to mean me and my younger brother, Matt, 31M. But in reality, it was more like Taylor and his favorite son, while I was just the one keeping the company afloat. My father built this business from scratch about 30 years ago, a classic small business success story. He started with just a van and a dream, and now we have 15 plumbers, 3 office workers, and we're one of the biggest plumbing companies in our area. And let me be clear, I'm not being arrogant when I say that most of that growth happened because of me. After high school, I went to college for 4 years to earn a degree in business management. Meanwhile, Matt barely scraped through high school and took 6 years to complete a 2-year degree at a community college. While I was grinding through classes, studying late nights, and preparing to take over the business, Matt was out there uploading gym selfies and making a name for himself at every bar in town. When I graduated, I came back home to work for the family business. My dad insisted I learn everything from the ground up, so I did. 3 years as a plumber's assistant, crawling through filth, unclogging toilets, working in freezing temperatures, and breaking my back every single day. Fine. I got it. You can't manage plumbers if you don't understand their work. So I did the work. I earned my master plumber's license, which, by the way, is a nightmare to get. I learned scheduling, inventory management, customer service, and all the essential, tedious parts of running a business. I worked 60-hour weeks for years. I missed weddings, ignored my social life, and didn't even think about dating for 5 years. Who had the time? Finally, I reached the top. 5 years ago, I became the operations manager. And that's when everything started changing. I implemented digital scheduling, overhauled our inventory system, and introduced follow-up calls to improve customer satisfaction. Our reviews jumped from 3.5 stars to 4.8. Revenue skyrocketed 40% in 2 years. For the first time, my dad actually seemed impressed with me. Then Matt showed up. After years of bartending and finding himself, Matt suddenly decided he wanted to join the family business. Keep in mind, this guy had never shown the slightest interest in plumbing. He probably couldn't tell the difference between PVC and copper pipe. If you asked him what a P-trap was, he'd probably think it was something used to catch animals. But my dad? Oh, he was thrilled. His golden boy had finally come home to carry on the family legacy. And that's when everything went to hell. Dad gave Matt a made-up title, Director of Client Relations, and a starting salary that was 80% of mine, despite the fact that I'd been there a decade longer. He was handed a beautiful office with a window, while I was still working out of a converted closet next to the restroom. And what did Matt actually do? Mostly he took clients to lunch. He posted on social media occasionally. He showed up at project sites just long enough to snap a photo with our plumbers, always making sure to get himself in the shot, pretending he was in charge. He strolled in at 10 a.m., took 2-hour lunch breaks, and left by 4 p.m. because of traffic. In every staff meeting, my dad would praise Matt for landing some minor contract, completely ignoring the fact that I had just saved the company $50,000 a year by optimizing our billing system. It was like I had become invisible. And then came the final straw. There was one contract, the biggest we had ever gone after. A commercial project so massive that winning it could take our company to the next level. I spent weeks putting together the proposal, working late nights, double-checking every number, making sure every detail was airtight. I even pulled an all-nighter to finish it. And then, the day of the biggest meeting in our company's history arrived. I had spent weeks preparing, fine-tuning every detail of our proposal, making sure our figures were airtight. This was my moment, the culmination of years of hard work. And then Dad brought Matt. Matt, who hadn't read a single page of the proposal. Matt, who was hungover and kept rushing to the bathroom. Matt, who referred to the client's building as that big place with the sign. It was humiliating. And yet, despite Matt's utter lack of preparation, my numbers were solid enough that we still landed the deal. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I sat in stunned silence on the drive back as Dad gushed about how Matt's people skills had sealed the deal. My contribution? Oh, your attention to detail was helpful, Dad said. Helpful. Like I was some glorified assistant who had stapled the papers together. I tried to talk to Mom about it later, desperate for someone in my family to acknowledge what was happening. She just gave me this sad, knowing look inside. You and your brother are just different kinds of people, she said. Not everyone can be as organized as you are. As if competence was some kind of character flaw. Then came the final straw. I was walking past Dad's office one day when I overheard a conversation. The door wasn't fully closed. When you take over the company, Dad was saying to Matt, you'll need to learn about the finances. I froze. My name didn't come up. Not even once. Not even a maybe your brother can help with accounting. This was the company I had spent my entire adult life building. The business I had kept running while Matt waltzed in and played pretend. And now, without so much as a discussion, I had been erased from its future. I was just the workhorse. The guy in the background. The one who kept things running while Matt basked in the spotlight. I kept my head down. I kept grinding. I had no choice. But that was about to change. Enter Julie. 9 months ago, our administrative assistant quit. She had been with us for 5 years but got a better offer elsewhere. Dad insisted we needed someone with real office management experience, since the company was expanding. And then Julie walked through the door. She was 29, polished, professional. The moment she stepped into the office, something about her resonated with me. She carried herself with confidence. Her dark hair was always pulled into a perfect bun. Her emerald green eyes seemed to see through all the corporate BS. She wasn't one of Matt's typical Instagram model flings. She was stunning in a completely different way, refined, put together like she had no time for nonsense. And her resume? Impressive as hell. A business degree, years of experience managing offices at firms far larger than ours, a deep knowledge of accounting and operations. For the first time in a long time, I felt something shift. And I had no idea just how much she was about to change everything. Julie changed everything. Dad was so impressed with her resume, packed with business operations certifications and software expertise, that he hired her on the spot. That never happens. And from the moment she stepped in, the company began to transform. Week 1, she completely reorganized our filing system, which hadn't been updated since the 1990s. Week 2, she uncovered $20,000 in unpaid invoices from the previous year and actually collected it. Week 3, she confronted my father about our outdated scheduling system and convinced him to invest in the software I had been begging for years. I was essentially in love. At first, our lunches in the break room were just work-related. Then we discovered we had the same taste in true crime podcasts. Then I found out she loved hiking just like me. Then it was movies, books, and everything in between. Talking to her was effortless. It wasn't like those miserable Tinder dates where you're grasping for conversation topics. With her, everything flowed. The date that never happened. After months of these accidental break room lunches, I finally manned up and asked her out. Not a quick chat over sad Tupperware meals. A real date. Dinner this Friday? That new Thai place downtown? She smiled. Not a polite, professional smile. Something genuine. Something that made me feel, for the first time in years, like I wasn't just the family's doormat. I'd love that. I was ecstatic. I even caught myself whistling while fixing a sink on a job site, completely baffling the apprentice working with me. But I told no one at work. My family has a gift for ruining anything good in my life. I wanted to keep this to myself until things got serious. The gut punch. 2 days before our date, I was walking down the hall when I heard Julie laughing. Not a polite chuckle. A real laugh, the kind I had worked weeks to earn. Only, she wasn't laughing at something I said. I turned the corner and froze. Julie was standing far too close to Matt at the coffee machine. Matt, leaning against the wall in his signature look how cool I am posture, was showing her something on his phone. She was engrossed. My stomach twisted. Hey Ryan, Matt said, flashing that phony brotherly tone, the one he only used when other people were around. Just showing Julie some kayaking pics from last weekend. Kayaking. Matt. The guy who complains about walking from his car to a restaurant in the rain. The guy who once asked me if the river near our house had those fish things. Kayaking. Julie turned to me with a smile. But it wasn't the same as before. It was polite. Professional. Not the smile of someone excited for Friday night. These are amazing photos, she said, turning back to Matt. I've always wanted to try kayaking but never had the chance. You should come with me sometime, Matt said, flashing that idiotic practice smile that had worked on women his entire life. I go most weekends when the weather's good. It's peaceful out on the water. Let me be clear, Matt has never kayaked a day in his life. The closest he's ever come to a water sport is drinking beer on someone else's boat. And yet, Julie was interested. She turned to me. Ryan, I didn't know your brother was so into outdoor activities. Neither did. But before I could say anything, she and Matt were already back to looking at his phone, probably scrolling through stock images of kayaks or something he pulled from Google. The final blow. The next day, Julie found me alone in the break room. For half a second, hope flared in my chest. Maybe yesterday had meant nothing. Maybe we were still on for Friday. About Friday? She started. I already knew. I'm really sorry, but I need to reschedule. Something came up. Which, as everyone knows, is universal code for. I found a better option. No problem, I said, forcing a casual tone. Maybe another time. Definitely, Julie replied with a smile. But it wasn't her smile. Not the one that had made me think for just a moment that I mattered. This smile was empty, a polite dismissal. A smile that meant this is never happening. And sure enough, I found out later, through the ever-efficient office rumor mill, that Julie and Matt went out on Friday. At the exact Thai restaurant where I had planned to take her. The week from hell. The following week was torture. Matt strutted around the office like he had just won the lottery. Julie flushed whenever he walked past her desk. Conversation stopped the moment I entered the room. And then, to twist the knife deeper, Matt casually mentioned their date in the middle of a staff meeting. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Every time I try to build something for myself, Matt just swoops in and takes it, as if it was never mine in the first place. And of course things got worse. Mom, the Matt fan club president. Matt tells Mom everything. So naturally, she called me over the weekend, her voice brimming with excitement. Have you met this Julie that Matthew is seeing? She gushed. He says she's just wonderful. So accomplished and pretty. And she works at your office. She's our office manager, I replied flatly. Well, isn't that nice? Matthew says she's very smart. Organized too. Sounds like they have so much in common. I clenched my jaw. They had nothing in common. Unless you count breathing oxygen on the same planet. But sure, Mom, let's pretend they're soulmates. I finally snap. For years I had swallowed my anger. Convinced myself it was easier to let it go. But this was the breaking point. Actually, Mom, Julie and I were supposed to go out first. Silence. I asked her out, she said yes, then Matt swooped in. Another long pause. I could practically hear Mom trying to rewrite reality in a way that wouldn't make her precious Matthew look bad. Then she sighed. Well, sweetie, you know how these things go. Sometimes people just connect. I felt my blood pressure spike. Matthew has always been so charming with the ladies. And you're more, well, you know, focused on work. There it was. The same condescending tone. The same excuses. She had basically said, Matt is fun and attractive. You're not. Deal with it. The new power couple. And so it began. Matt and Julie. Taylor and Sons Plumbing's new golden couple. But the worst part? It wasn't even losing Julie. It was watching her slowly realize who Matt really was, and pretending not to notice. The illusion starts to shatter. At first, everything seemed perfect between Matt and Julie. But cracks always show when the foundation is built on lies. The first flaw appeared when Matt canceled on her, last minute, because his friends had invited him to a poker night. Then came the time she overheard him lying to a client, wildly exaggerating his role in the company. And then, the real kicker, when she had to cover for him at an important networking event. What? Because Matt was too drunk to show up. I saw it, the flicker of confusion on her face. The mental gymnastics as she tried to reconcile the Matt she thought she was dating with the real Matt. But by then, she was in too deep. The dinner from hell. 3 weeks into their relationship, Mom invited Julie to Sunday dinner. It'll be nice to have a fresh face at the table, she gushed. As if these dinners weren't already pure agony, especially now that my work crush had chosen Matt over me. I almost skipped. But Dad made it clear that wasn't an option. Family dinner is family dinner, Ryan. Be there. So I went. And it was just as bad as I imagined. Mom used her best china. She made a full roast. Dad told work stories that made Matt sound like a business prodigy. Matt, of course, played the ideal son and boyfriend, pulling out Julie's chair, refilling her glass, telling completely fabricated stories about his wild weekends and charitable work. Julie? She ate it all up. She laughed at his jokes. She asked him about his fake hiking expeditions. All while I sat there knowing the truth. Knowing that Matt's closest brush with outdoor adventure was the time he had to park at the far end of a mall parking lot. Finally, I decided to say something. I actually love hiking, I said, trying to reclaim even a shred of my own story. Julie and I talked about this trail at work. It's one of my favorites. Julie's eyes lit up. Oh, Matt was just telling me about that place, she said excitedly, turning to him. You've been there too? Matt blinked. For a split second I saw panic. Then just as quickly it was gone. He let out a smooth chuckle. Been there? He repeated. Julie, I practically live on that trail in the summer. Of course he does. Matt always wins. The promotion that almost meant something. That dinner was 6 months ago. They've been officially together ever since. I forced myself to move on. To bury it. To focus on my work. The one thing I could control. And finally, after 15 years of breaking my back for this company, something good happened. I got promoted. Senior operations manager. More responsibility. A significant raise. And the biggest perk? A company truck. A brand new Ford F-250. Perfect for hauling equipment to job sites. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Finally, something was mine. A moment of recognition, or so I thought. At our next staff meeting, Dad made the announcement himself. After years of dedicated service, Ryan is being promoted to Senior Operations Manager. Applause. For the first time in years I actually felt seen. Maybe this was worth it after all. Maybe things were finally looking up. Maybe, just maybe, this was the turning point. But I should have known better. The engagement bombshell. Sunday dinner. Mom's making her famous pot roast. Dad's droning on about a client. Matt has his arm around Julie as usual. I'm just trying to survive the meal without saying something I'll regret. Then Dad clears his throat and sets down his fork. Instantly, my stomach tightens. In my family, announcements are never good news. And then, there it is. Julie grins, flashing a huge diamond ring, one that probably cost more than my entire yearly salary. We're engaged, she announces. Mom bursts into joyful tears. Dad claps Matt on the back. I sit there, stunned, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth. This is wonderful news. Dad exclaims. My boy's finally settling down, starting a family. And then, the real gut punch. Matt, I think you and your future bride could use that new truck more than the company could. Consider it an engagement gift. For a second, there's silence. Then Matt makes a show of looking shocked. As if this wasn't his plan all along. Wow, Dad. That's so generous, he says. And that's when I finally find my voice. Dad, that truck was supposed to be part of my promotion package. I need it for work. For actual company business. Dad waves a hand dismissively. Now, Ryan, don't be selfish. Your brother's starting a family. Family comes first. You can keep using your old truck for now. It still runs, doesn't it? Barely. I try to argue. But no one's listening. They're all too busy celebrating the happy couple, already discussing wedding plans and future grandkids. The final straw. That was it. The moment I realized I was done. The rage that had been simmering for years finally boiled over. But it wasn't hot or explosive. It was cold. Controlled. A kind of clarity I had never felt before. I was never going to be valued in this family. I was never going to get what I deserved. I was just the workhorse, the dependable one they could dump on while Matt got all the rewards. That night I got home and lost it. 15 years. 15 years of dedication. 15 years of keeping this business running while Matt glided through life. 15 years down the drain. The email that changed everything. I opened my laptop. Stared at the blank email screen for 10 seconds. Then I started typing. Subject, my resignation. Dad. I am resigning from Taylor & Sons Plumbing effective immediately. Consider this my 2-week notice. Though realistically you'll be lucky if I last the week. I plan to pursue other options. Sincerely, not really, Ryan Taylor. I hit send before I could back out. Then I fired off a second email to HR, aka our bookkeeper, about my vacation time. I told them I'd be starting it immediately. I had no intention of stepping foot in that office ever again. The fallout. Minutes later my phone exploded. Dad called twice. Matt just texted WTF, with a bunch of stupid emojis. Mom left sobbing voicemails about how I was tearing the family apart and being overly dramatic. Then Julie called. I let it go to voicemail. Ryan, it's Julie, your dad told me you quit. What's going on? Please call me back. As if she didn't know. As if she hadn't been part of the entire disaster. I ignored every single one of them, turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and started updating my resume. I was done. I was done being the family's workhorse. I was done watching Matt take everything I worked for. The confrontation. The next morning at 7 a.m. sharp, there was a pounding on my door. I knew exactly who it was. I took my time answering. When I finally opened it, Dad was fuming. "What the hell, Ryan?" he yelled. "Quitting over email? After everything this family has done for you?" I actually laughed in his face. "Everything this family has done for me? You mean like paying me less than market wage for 15 years while Matt gets bonuses just for showing up? Or maybe you mean promising me a company truck and then handing it to Matt as an engagement present?" Dad's face went red. "That's different," he snapped. "Matt's starting a family. He needs our support." I stared at him. "And I don't. I've been supporting this family for years. Who do you think actually keeps the business running while Matt takes 2-hour lunches and posts on Instagram?" Dad's face turned scarlet. "Do not talk about your brother that way," he barked. "Matt brings in clients. He's the face of this company." I let out a slow breath. And what am I then? The workhorse? The sucker who does all the actual work while Matt gets all the credit? Dad gritted his teeth. I had never seen him this angry. I didn't care. "Let Matt run the company, Dad," I said, stepping back. "You clearly don't need me." And then I started to close the door. The door slam heard round the world. Dad tried to stop me from closing the door, literally. His foot was in the way. "You walk away from this company, you walk away from this family," he declared as if we were in some cheap soap opera. I looked him dead in the eyes. If this is how family treats each other, maybe it's for the best. Then I pushed the door harder. Dad had to move his foot or risk losing it. He yelled and pounded on the door for a while, but I ignored him. Eventually he left. And just like that, I was free. The aftermath begins. The next day Matt showed up. I didn't even bother opening the door. I just yelled through it, "Leave before I call the cops." He tried the whole, "Come on bro, don't be like that" routine. I wasn't buying it. Then Mom called repeatedly. She was crying about how I was breaking Dad's heart and tearing the family apart. As if I was the problem. As if 15 years of favoritism and disrespect were my fault. But you know what? I had never felt more free in my life. A new beginning. Job hunting? Shockingly easy. Within a week, I had 3 interviews, all with larger, more professional companies than my father's. 2 of them made offers. I accepted a position with Wilson Plumbing and Heating, a growing competitor across town. The owner, Dave Wilson, actually values experience and hard work. Imagine that. Oh, and the best part? They put me on a partnership track, in writing. 2 years from now, I'll have the chance to buy in and become a part owner. 15 years at Taylor & Sons, and Dad never even considered that for me. Oh, and Wilson Plumbing also gave me a business truck. A brand new Ford F-350 Super Duty, fully loaded with the company logo on the side. Better than the one Dad stole from me. During my first week, I made a special trip past my parents' house. Petty? Yeah. Satisfying? Absolutely. Taylor & Sons falls apart. Meanwhile, Taylor & Sons was imploding. The texts I started getting from my old coworkers? Better than any revenge fantasy I could have dreamed up. Week 1, Dad tries to take over. With me gone, Dad tried to handle operations himself. Problem: he hadn't actually done the job in 15 years. He screwed up the scheduling so badly that 3 different crews showed up to the same job site on the same day. Then, when an emergency call came in from the hospital, there was no one available. That account, which I personally managed, they were not pleased. Week 2, Matt gets promoted. Since Dad was in over his head, he handed everything to Matt. Matt, who can't even remember to schedule his own dentist appointments. Result? He showed up late every day. Spent most of his time on the phone with Julie or his buddies. Couldn't answer basic job-related questions. Lost one of our largest commercial contracts, a $50,000 per year account, because he forgot to submit the renewal paperwork. Oops. Week 3, the dominoes keep falling. Scheduling is a mess. Clients are now getting last-minute rescheduling calls the night before their appointments. Online ratings plummeted from 4.8 stars to 3.2 stars in 3 weeks. An office employee quit after Matt kept blaming her for his failures. Accounts receivable are piling up, because no one knows how to invoice properly. Dad had to take out a short-term loan just to cover payroll. 3 weeks ago, the business was solidly profitable. Now it's circling the drain. Julie's reality check. Julie, the office manager, has been staying up late every night trying to keep things afloat. Problem: she knows nothing about Plumbing job scheduling. Managing 15 plumbers with different certifications. Keeping a business running. She thought she was joining a successful company. Instead, she got a front row seat to a dumpster fire. Should have thought about that before getting engaged to Golden Boy. The Taylor family meltdown. Mom's messages, increasingly desperate. Your father is working 16-hour days trying to fix the schedule. Matt's really trying, but he doesn't understand your system. We had to cancel 3 clients this week. Notice what's missing? An actual apology. Or any admission that they screwed me over. Classic Taylor family. Dad's breaking point. He left me one voicemail. Sounded like he'd been drinking. This business was fine before your sophisticated systems, and it will be fine after. You think you're irreplaceable? No one is. Yeah, sure, Dad. Keep telling yourself that. While your business flushes itself down the drain. Matt's panic mode. His text. Went from fake concern, mild panic, full-on desperation. Hey bro, everyone's worried about you. Do you still have the login for the scheduling software? Dad can't find it. Dude, please just tell me how you handled the Henderson project. Their manager is freaking out. Julie's half-hearted attempt. She sent one email. Full of apologies. I never meant to hurt you. Things with Matt just happened. I hope we can still be friends. And almost as an afterthought. By the way, if you have time, could you write up how you handled the scheduling? We're having some issues. I deleted it without replying. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. Oh, and the truck? Matt and Dad had to sell it, to cover payroll. Guess who's driving a better one now? Me. Taylor & Sons is going down in flames. And I've never been better. The truck problem. A text from Matt. Apparently the company truck, the one that should have been mine, was making a weird noise. And he had the audacity to ask me if I could look at it. I laughed out loud. Then deleted the text. Not my truck. Not my problem. A new life at Wilson. It's been 2 weeks at Wilson Plumbing, and honestly, it feels like I've stepped into a parallel universe. One where competence is actually respected. Dave, the owner, asks for my opinions and actually listens. When I make suggestions, they're implemented, not ignored. The crew appreciates me for my skills, not because of some last name. Yesterday, I revamped the service call routing system. Dave was so impressed he gave me a bonus on the spot. A bonus? For doing my job well. What a concept. Then I met Kate. About a week after I started at Wilson, I met Kate. She's an architect I ran into at a job site. Smart. Funny. Direct. No games. No drama. Kate is nothing like Julie. Julie was always polished and perfect. Kate. She shows up in jeans and boots, talks athletics as easily as she talks design, and calls me out on my nonsense in the most refreshing way. For our 3rd date, we went hiking to a waterfall I had always wanted to see. No pressure. No stress. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. At one point, I showed her some desperate texts from my family. She simply shook her head. They had gold and treated it like dirt. Then she kissed me. And for the rest of the day, I didn't think about my family business at all. A chance encounter. Kate and I were at the hardware store picking up supplies for my bathroom project when I saw them. Matt and Julie. Great. I was having a perfectly normal Saturday, and then they showed up. Julie's eyes locked onto our hands, Kate's fingers clasped firmly in mine. Hey bro. Matt muttered, looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I kept it brief. Hey. Julie, of course, had to make conversation. How have you been? Good. Really good. This is Kate. Julie sized her up. Kate, being the absolute champion she is, grinned and shook their hands. Nice to meet you both. I've heard a lot about you. Matt's panicked expression? Priceless. The truck issue. Julie, trying to act casual, asked about our supplies. Renovating Ryan's bathroom, Kate answered smoothly. I'm an architect, so I'm handling the design. Julie's smile faltered. An architect? That's impressive. She suddenly looked self-conscious. I decided to twist the knife just a little. Julie works as an office manager at my family's company. Turns out they were at the hardware store because of the truck. You know, the one that was supposed to be mine. Apparently, it was acting up and Matt, shockingly, had no clue how to fix it. I couldn't resist. The company truck? Matt looked genuinely uncomfortable. Yeah, that one. He wasn't sorry for what he did. Just embarrassed to be asking for help. Kate, ever the pro, devised an escape plan, mentioning some fictitious dinner plans. Julie hesitated as we turned to leave. Can I have a moment? Kate looked at me and I nodded. She squeezed my hand before stepping away. Julie's so-called apology. Julie looked exhausted. The engagement? I asked, taking it slow. Translation: Matt's true colors were showing. The business? Not the same without you. Apparently they hired 2 people to replace me, and they're still struggling. Matt? Julie sighed. Different since you left. Yeah. That's called working for the first time in his life. She hesitated, then finally said it. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for coming between you and your brother. I almost laughed, not in a cruel way, just in a wow you really don't get it way. Julie, you weren't the problem. You were just a symptom of a much bigger problem. My family has never valued me. She bit her lip, then glanced at Kate. She seems nice. You 2 look good together. We are. Julie nodded like she understood. But I don't think she really did. Not my job to explain. Mom's last attempt. On the way home, Mom called. I don't even know why I answered. She sounded surprised I picked up, but quickly jumped into her usual guilt trip. They miss me. The business is floundering. Matt is overwhelmed. Sunday dinners aren't the same without me. I let her ramble. I was just waiting for the inevitable request. You should come by soon. Maybe we can figure things out. I kept my voice calm. I'm busy. Every Sunday. For the foreseeable future. Kate, overhearing from the driver's seat, smirked. Want me to say I told you so or just let you bask in the schadenfreude? Definitely basking. No going back. Later that night, curled up on the couch watching some bizarre true crime documentary, Kate looked over at me. Would you ever consider going back? I didn't even have to think about it. Not even for a second. She grinned. I don't know what will happen to Taylor and Sons Plumbing. Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe they'll crash and burn. Either way, not my problem. The lesson: know your worth. It took me 15 years, and a stolen truck, to learn this lesson. Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from people who don't appreciate you. Even if they're family. Especially if they're family. And guess what? Life goes on. It gets better. I found a better job. I found real respect. I found Kate. They lost me. Their loss. My gain. Did this story resonate with you? If you've ever felt undervalued, overlooked, or stuck in a toxic situation, you're not alone. Tell us your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more.